Hello there, welcome to our latest Meet the Employer event. I'm your host today. My name's Raleigh. I'm a black man with glasses, no hair, and wearing a dark blue jumper. And my pronouns are he, him. Today we're joined by the Telegraph Media Group, one of our unlimited employers. We've been working together for about 2.5 years now, and they're here today to talk about, how to apply for jobs at Telegraph Media Group, talking about adjustments they've made for some of their employees and other stuff like that. And also, this is your chance to ask any questions you have about working at Telegraph Media Group. We have a Q&A box where you can put your questions, and at the end after the presentation today, we're going to be talking about we answer the questions on the Q&A box. We also have our career hive where this video will be recorded and posted, and our career hive is where you can get help with interview skills, CV writing skills, and we signpost you to services near where you live, and also you can get free career coaching. Toby, please, if you could put the link for the career hive in the chat box. Okay, so today we're joined by Asha, Faiza, India, and Sarita from Telegraph Media Group, and they'll be telling us what it's like to work there and everything. So to get started, I'll go to Asha, please, and she can tell us about what she does. So could you introduce yourself and your job role and why you're here today, Asha?
Sure, thank you, Raleigh. Hopefully you can all hear me. So my name is Asha Gopal. I am one of the talent acquisition specialists here at the Telegraph, and the talent acquisition team make up part of the HR function. In particular, I support some of the business areas. So I will support technology and operations, human resources and finance. So quite a wide range. I have been with the Telegraph for just over 2 years, and my background has always been in recruitment, so coming up to about 20 years now in recruitment. But this is actually my first in-house role, so specifically working for the employer as part of their HR function. I am Indian, I am female, I have black hair. I go by the pronouns of her and she. I'm wearing a green shirt with some flowers on it today. I suppose what I would like to run through with all of you today is a little bit about, I guess, what the recruitment process looks like here at the Telegraph, but also wanted to use it as an opportunity to maybe share some tips around how to pull your CV together, and also what to think about when you're coming through to a potential interview. So I'm just going to share my my slides. So again, if anybody's not able to see this, please do let me know. Hopefully Raleigh and the team can give me a nudge if it's not visible.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's all coming out. It looks good. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So as I mentioned, obviously our recruitment process can be a little bit varied. It will depend on the business area that's recruiting, and sometimes it will depend on the specific role as to how many stages of the process that we might need. But obviously, first and foremost, we would start with the actual application process. So what I would like to do is spend a little bit of time talking through sort of where to start. So when you're coming to think about your job search, things to think about before you apply for roles. We'll go through some CV building tips. We'll look at a few of the things that we see in applications that we'd advise against. And then we'll run through a few interview tips as well. So moving on. Perfect. So in terms of where to start, so firstly, you want to have a think about the types of organizations or businesses that you would like to work for, or areas of the industry or the types of industries that you would enjoy and already have an interest in. And if you don't already, it can be worth following them on social media or LinkedIn and keeping an eye on those organizations that are of interest to you, so that you have an idea of what they're already doing, and tidbits of information that might be useful for if and when you come to apply and or have an interview. LinkedIn is a good way to do that, so that you can follow companies, you can follow topics and key individuals, particularly in the fields that you're interested in, and that allows you to keep up to date with relevant trends. We'd always encourage you to use your existing network, so extended family or family friends, and they can connect you to to either current or former colleagues that also might be able to offer advice and or support as you either begin your career or continue to develop your career. And then just lastly, Google. It's a classic but effective way to search, for example, the best companies in a particular location or a particular industry, and that can always be a good starting point for you. So next, once you've identified the types of organizations that you'd like to apply to, we'd always recommend not applying to lots and lots of roles, because it can be very hard to keep on top of. And sometimes it can be a little bit disheartening if you are receiving kind of high volumes of rejection. So you really want to think about why you're applying to that role. So you want to read the job advert in detail. And then there are a few things that we'd recommend that you think about. So is this role right for me? Is it at the right level? So you could look at the job title, and it may have coordinator in the title, which would reflect the fact that it's probably a first position or a relatively junior position, whereas a role that has senior in the title would reflect that it's a role that is looking for somebody with more experience. You want to understand what the role involves, and therefore allowing you to think about your skills and experience that could be relevant to that role, and thinking about whether you have the right skills and experience. So again, reading those details and being able to make an honest appraisal of yourself in terms of whether you fulfill at least some of the essential criteria that the organisation is looking for. So once you've decided you'd like to apply, always follow the application instructions. For the majority of roles, they tend to be fairly straightforward in terms of click here to apply. A lot of organizations may ask you to combine a cover letter along with your CV. And if there are particularly more technical roles, they may want to see specific work examples or links to portfolios that you may have. And then, of course, if there is a deadline, please do adhere to the deadline, and adhering to the instructions will put you on the right track. So in terms of then applying, I wanted to take you through some of our CV building tips. So there are a few things to think about here, and it's really about the context and I guess the amount of applications that you make, but you want to give yourself the best chance. And in order to do that, you want to tailor your CV and highlight why you're relevant for that particular role. So to do this, you want to keep it simple, limit the text and graphics, because most organizations will use an applicant tracking system. We do that here at the Telegraph, and it can pull your data and the CV, and sometimes that overly complicated formatting doesn't always work very well. Focus on your content over style. It's really important to think about the kind of information that you want to share and express to a potential employer. It's unheard of that somebody would be hired or taken forward simply because their CV looks a certain way. And it's very much about the content. And then you want clear contact details. So make sure that your email address and your phone number are at the top of your CV. We'd recommend adding some sort of location, so even if it's just a city, so that it's clear to the organisation where you're currently based. And make sure that your email address is quite simple and suitably professional. So if you have an old email address from when you were perhaps a bit younger, it might be time to set up a new one. There's no need to add a photo or your date of birth. That's not things that are taken into consideration when we're reviewing applications. And we'd always recommend keeping your CV to no more than 2 A4 pages. Even a single page is fine if you're early in your career. It's very much about being concise and delivering an overview of your key experience and skills. So, next, in terms of writing your CV, so the key sections that we would want to see on a CV and that we would look for when we are reviewing applications is firstly a summary or personal statement. So if you're applying for a particular position, you might want to open with, I'm a motivated individual with a degree in finance, for example, if it's a finance position that you're going for. And whilst you may end up with multiple versions of your CV because you'll want to edit this for each role that you apply to, it will be worth it because you'll be able to make that stronger first impression in terms of a short paragraph as to why an organisation should consider you for the role. Education, start with your education history in descending order. So for example, if you have a degree, you put degree followed by A-level or NVQ, followed by GCSE, or any other relevant training qualifications that you might have. If an employer has specifically stated they're looking for a certain subject or degree, make sure that that's easy for them to see so that you can demonstrate that you fit the bill. But you don't need to go into the specifics of, for example, a degree or qualification in terms of every module, but you may want to call out any particular relevant ones depending on the role that you're going for. And then experience and key skills. So if you're early in your career and perhaps don't have as much work experience directly in that industry or area, don't underestimate the importance of any sort of volunteering or internships or extracurricular activities that you may have been able to complete. For example, if you've had to manage conflicting priorities or working to deadlines, building relationships, all of these can be transferable skills into the majority of roles that you will apply for. And it's being able to demonstrate how the skills that you've developed from these experience can give you the right basis to succeed in the job. And then just following up with examples of work. So it's not obviously essential, but again, if it's relevant to the role, for example, in editorial, if you've done work experience or freelancing, you may want to use hyperlinks to show any published work or a personal blog. Or if it's a more technical position within the tech part of the business, it may be a link to your portfolio in terms of any coding that you've done. So that's kind of what we'd want to see on your CV. Now, majority again of applications or organisations would like to see a cover letter. They don't always specifically call that out in the application process, but we would recommend that you do add a cover letter. It's really your chance to showcase how your skills and experience match the role, and it's an opportunity for you to sell why you would be a great fit for the role, as opposed to just repeating what's on your CV. So you want to keep your cover letter short, concise and relevant. We'd recommend sort of 1 to 2 paragraphs of an overview of why you're interested in the role and what makes you relevant for the role. But we'd always recommend avoiding using AI to scan the job advert and then write a cover letter for you, because we can generally tell when somebody has done that, and we want it to be more of a human touch. And then just going back to your CV. So again, concise, punchy and clear. You want to keep the reader in mind. Proofread your CV and proofread it again. If you have any family or friends that are happy to review it for you, ask them to proofread it as well. And then, as I said earlier, obviously include a cover letter if you can, and also double check your contact details. It's very easy to miss a digit off your mobile phone number or a dot in the wrong place of your email address, and it can make it tricky for organizations to contact you. So in terms of things ideally that we'd like for you to avoid, things that we've seen. So again, I mentioned relying too much on things like ChatGPT. Don't copy and paste your applications when you are applying for multiple roles. We do often see applications that have said, for example, dear such and such organization, and they have clearly made multiple applications rather than making it specific to the Telegraph. If you are going to use a CV template, make sure you delete any sections that you don't need. And again, spell check. Keep the CV relevant. So any information that's not relevant, for example, your star sign, unless you're planning to apply specifically to an astrology magazine, it's not going to be something that we're interested in understanding or learning about. So that brings us on to, sorry, apologies. I think the slide is now loading. So hopefully you can see everything on there that I've just referred to.
Yeah.
And then that just brings us on to interview tips. So I will just take you through what we'd recommend. So when you're prepping for an interview, revisit the job specification, because interview questions will be based on the key criteria, and that information will be in the job profile for you. And you want to think about pulling out the key skills needed and start to prepare examples where you've been able to demonstrate those skills and competencies. So a great tool to do this is the STAR interview technique, and it allows you to answer interview questions in a structured and effective way. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So you start by describing the situation, explain the background of the scenario. You move on to explaining the task or goal that you were assigned to and what you were supposed to achieve. You'll then move on to describing the actions you took to address that situation. And then finally, you want to share the outcome of your actions. So what happened as a result of your efforts. And of course, you want to emphasize the positive results, but also it's a good opportunity to be honest about any challenges or lessons learned. And this structured response really helps the interviewer understand your abilities and how you can handle real life situations. So in terms of preparing for the interview, obviously we want for you to be able to stand out from the crowd. So as I said, reread the role profile, also reread your CV and familiarize yourself with the interviewers in the organization. Most of that information will be available online on the corporate website of the organization and of course LinkedIn. And always go armed with some questions of your own. So this will really show that you're engaged and eager to learn. For example, you could ask your interviewers why they enjoy working there, or for example, what project or particular piece of work that they were proudest to have worked on. If you are interviewing remotely, which is something that we do see far more often now, make sure to have tested your tech ahead of time so that your microphone, your camera, your internet connection, etc., are all working suitably. And then just dress the part, make eye contact, smile, try not to fidget too much, but ultimately try to be yourself as much as you can in a slightly more difficult situation. And don't be afraid to pause and take a moment to consider your answer when you're being asked a question, if you are feeling a little bit nervous. So that's the end of the slide deck there. So I hope that that's been useful for all of you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Asha. That was a very detailed talk about, the recruitment process and everything. So hopefully everyone can make use of that. And, you know, if you apply to Telegraph jobs, you keep that in mind. Okay. So now we're going to Pfizer. And Pfizer, if you could introduce yourself, your job role, and why you're here today, please.
Thank you, Raleigh. Hi, everybody. My name is Faiza Tahir, and I'm the head of diversity, inclusion, and belonging at the Telegraph Media Group. My pronouns are she and her, and I am currently wearing a white top. I've got a very short cut of hair with that's blonde afro, and I'm wearing glasses as well. I am mixed race. And yeah, so I'm happy to be here today. I've been with the Telegraph for today, actually, is my anniversary, 1 month anniversary. So I joined the Telegraph in April. And prior to that, I worked in various financial organizations as in the same role of diversity and inclusion. And I've crossed paths with Evenbreak during my time for the past 6 years, actually, with all the organizations that I worked with. So it's great to be doing this because I've done this a couple of times previously as well. So I'm here to talk to you about what we offer and what we do in terms of our culture, our initiatives when it comes to all things DE&I. And if I can just share my screen, let's hope it works. If you can just please let me know if you can see this.
I can see it, yeah.
Fantastic, okay. Yes, so what do we do here at the Telegraph? When it comes to our employees, we're very, very much heavy into looking after our people, attracting a wide variety of employees, candidates from all diverse backgrounds, ensuring that they are looked after from the onset entry level all the way through to leadership. So we're very much focused on internal mobility, development of our employees, and retention of our employees. But we're also very much aware that actually, you can't limit yourself when it comes to these things. So at the heart of it is actually making sure that we do target the right audience, making it as accessible as possible to a wide variety of talent that's out there, irrespective of your gender, your race, your ethnicity, your disability, your sexual orientation. You're welcome. And that journey basically starts at the beginning, in terms of reaching out and making sure that we try and give back to the community by providing what we call a media literacy program, which is basically a scheme that we have where we invite individuals from all across the United Kingdom that can join on our 4-day event that we host in March. You don't have to have an experience in media at all. You're invited, you join virtually, so it's, there's no need for you to actually travel and come into London. And you basically get an insight and education, a crash course, as we'd call it, from the best and the brightest of our leaders here, that will inform you about what we do as an organization. And if you catch the bug and you're interested, then you can proceed into perhaps applying for what we call our work experience. And this is essentially basically an opportunity for individuals from all kinds of background that can come into the workspace and will be immersed in our newsroom to have a 2-week work experience. And you get moved from one desk to the other every couple of days or so to have a different type of experience. After that, there might be an opportunity, if you have a passion and potential, that you might have the opportunity to apply for a job here at the Telegraph. The good news about that is we've had successes in the past, and recently, yesterday in fact, I was informed that a particular individual that's just completed their 2-week work experience have managed to secure a role here by applying and being successful in that. So great news stories, but also actually it shows that it does work for individuals actually having that opportunity to come through. And then obviously we do also have through our talent management, talent development side of the business, all the formal internships, apprenticeships, and graduate programs that we offer, just like any other organization. We also provide mentoring programs as part of nurturing and developing our talent. So once an employee is settled and they feel able and they're supported, that part of that development, and they're aspiring to become, something better and want to perhaps aspire into a leadership position, management position, that opportunity is provided, and we have our leadership that pay it forward by actually taking on mentees that they do mentor throughout the program. It's a 12-month program whereby you have an individual, a senior person, either be it within your department that you're already working in or elsewhere, depending on where your passion lies or where your skills and developments are, that can actually guide you, be your champion, and sponsor you when it comes to perhaps linking you to certain projects and opportunities so that you can grow and build your talent. And through that, we've seen individuals that actually end up getting promoted in senior roles as well, which is fantastic. And finally, we also provide leadership opportunities. So we have programs that focus on things like supporting our female employees and future leaders to give them an opportunity, because as you know, the workplace environment, there's still inequities when it comes to the gender agenda. So we are very much tactical, and we focus on making sure that our female colleagues are supported, are nurtured, and are developed and given that opportunity. So we have a very fantastic Women in Leadership program, as we call it, where employees that show promise, that are high potential, are basically nurtured and developed and sponsored by executives onto the next journey of their career. So that gives you an idea of our ecosystem when it comes to actually supporting and retaining our employees and developing them internally. And this is not just specific to a particular group. We have individuals that have all kinds of disabilities or different sexual orientation and gender that are supported throughout this cycle. Our main aim is we get the talent. As long as you're fantastic at your job, it doesn't matter where you come from. We want to retain you, we want to support you, and we want to develop you so that you stay within the organization. And moving forward into the next slide. So basically, this gives you an idea of our network groups. We're very proud that we actually have 6 employee network groups led and created by our actual employees themselves that are thriving. And we have over 50% of our employee population that are either signed on to at least one of these network groups. So the network groups comprise of working families for individuals that are parents and their allies. We also have an Embrace network, which focuses on race and ethnicity. We have an Able network, which is all about disability and long-term conditions. We have Out Loud that supports and promotes LGBTQ representation in the company. We have Women's Network specifically for championing our female employees. And we also have Wellbeing, which is, again, cut across the board, basically, that focuses on employee well-being and making sure that we have the right interventions in the workplace for our employees to be nourished. Now, all of these, like I said, are employee-led, which is fantastic. And we do have a couple of our members here actually from the ABLE network that will be talking to you after I finish. So I don't want to steal their thunder by explaining to you the intricacies of actually what goes on in the employee network group. I believe Sarita will be able to explore more about that with you. The next slide here just gives you a flavor, and I do apologize, it's just pictures, but it gives you a flavor of some of the activities that have been run in the past from different network groups that we've had here. They celebrate all kinds of cultural events, and they also provide educational content, raising awareness. It also provide a safe space for individuals from those communities to come together. So this just gives you some of the highlight of some of the events that we run, which I'm proud to say in my 7 years of working in ED&I, this is the first organization that I've worked in that pretty much every day there's an event going on to do with a network. And they're really, really well-oiled machine because they work so well together that they collaborate on some of these initiatives. So they don't work in silos, which is absolutely fantastic. And the way how really, when it comes to inclusion, how it should be, because we're not just one box, we're not, we all have different intersections. For instance, I'm a mixed race woman of color that's also gay, that also has dyslexia. So there are all kinds of things really that when it comes to these network groups, I can actually have a level of awareness and appreciation and perhaps belong to. And so that collaboration element is absolutely critical for us. And we do nurture that and recommend that as well. We promote this heavily in terms of new employees coming into the organization. So we always recommend people during the induction to know about these network groups and inform them of how they can sign up to them. And once you sign up into as a member, you are invited and informed regularly of things that are coming up. And if you're somebody that's passionate, even better, you can be active and form part of those chairs and committees that run the events. And then finally, I have a slide here that tells you a little bit about our policies. And as you can see, there are quite a few here that really, from our point of view, really sets us apart with so many organizations out there in terms of how we continue to support people from different backgrounds that might have different requirements and needs in the workplace. I've highlighted three, one of them being dependent leave, reasonable adjustments, and workplace passports. And I'll just touch on the couple below, the reasonable adjustments. And this particular policy is all about making sure that we're equitable when it comes to how we approach having employees in the workplace, because no two people are the same. Somebody will be absolutely normal, can come in, the lighting is fine for them, they can sit on a regular chair, and they can sit in a room, crowded by other employees, and will be absolutely productive in the workplace. Another individual might need a standing desk, or might need somewhere quiet, or might need a headset perhaps to drown the noise in order for them to effectively function. And that reasonable adjustment policy is all about making sure that irrespective of your requirements and needs, within reason, we're able to actually work with that individual from the onset when they come into the organization to actually cater and make sure that they are provided with whatever it is that they require for them to be absolutely their best in the workplace and be productive. So this is something that we're really proud of that we have. And actually alongside that is what we call the workplace passports. So the workplace passports essentially are documents that you complete when you join the company. It is voluntary. It's on a human resources system. But what that does is actually it informs your line manager and the relevant HR employees your needs and requirements, whether you have a certain condition and what kind of support you might need. And that workplace passports, obviously, it stays there with just a handful of individuals, your line manager being one of them, that is able to know about it, so that if there is anything that you require that needs to be bespoke, tailored to your needs, that is actually met and supported. If you have an issue such as myself, I suffer from migraines, so from time to time that might be the issue, but my line manager knows about it because it's in my workplace passport. I'm able to reach out to my line manager to inform them of that. And that might help actually for me to be more flexible when it comes to my working hours or commuting and so on. And it also helps because you don't have to keep repeating yourself every time. Because if people move about, line managers come and go, you might actually progress into a different role or a different department, and you have a new line manager. This essentially then goes with you, and that new line manager will be able to know about it, and then you can have that conversation with them confidentially as well. So this gives you, I hope, a bit of a taster of what we do offer from a D&I perspective. But we're also good at is actually having really great partnerships with organizations that we feel really speak with us and holds our values, and we want to continue to work with closely. And some of those organizations include Evenbreak, obviously, that we're working with here today. Another one is Fertility, which supports women and it's not just fertility, actually. It does a host of different things, but catering for females in terms of your health, your reproductive health in general. We work with Fertility for that. Another organization that we work closely with is Brixton Finishing School. So from the perspective of social mobility, we try to give back to the community by volunteering and mentoring individuals outside of the organization. And it's something that some of our departments have been really enthusiastic about and continue to do, which we're really proud of. And we're also a disability confident employer, which is a government scheme. And we're proud to say that we're actually a level 3 disability confident employer, which is fantastic. Something that we continue to build on, because you can never say that you're perfect. So we continue to actually assess ourselves and look at ways that we can continue to improve ourselves to make sure that we're as equitable as possible. Our facilities are as welcoming and cater for individuals that might necessarily find it difficult. I believe I've covered as much. I feel like I've run out of time, actually, so apologies about that. Hope that gives you a taster of what we offer from a D&I perspective, but I do welcome your questions afterwards as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Faiza. That was really useful. All the D&I policies at Telegraph Media Group, workplace passports, reasonable adjustments. That was all very well explained. So thank you for that. So mindful of time, I'll move on to our next speaker, Sarita. Hi there. If you could introduce yourself, your role, and why you're here today, please.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be with you today. I'm Sarita. I am an Indian woman. I'm 5'1.5". The half is very important to me. I have long brownish black hair, and I'm currently wearing like a yellow jumper dress with a black and white blazer. In addition to that, I'm also type 1 diabetic, and I have temporal lobe epilepsy as well. In regards to my role, I am the talent and performance specialist at the Telegraph. So I've been here for 7 years, and I'm also the chair of ABLE. So Pfizer just went through now, and she's gone through it in quite a lot of detail. So there's a lot of this that I will cut back on and give you some time to speak to India, who will be going next, and also for you to ask some questions. But I just wanted to go through just a bit about what I do in terms of learning and development. I manage all of the training initiatives at the Telegraph. So that's like our soft skills training programs. That could be things like improving your time management, project management, stakeholder management skills. There is a lot of development opportunities at the Telegraph, which is absolutely fantastic. We also do things like Management Essentials, which is a training program specifically for managers as well as our leaders. So they're amazing programs, and everyone is invited to take part, no matter what your role is, what your level is. There's always something for you to develop. We also have a relationship with LinkedIn Learning, so there's lots of things that you can do with them as well to enhance your skills and your training. So plenty of opportunities. And then in terms of ABLE, this was launched around 2018, maybe a year after I joined. It was one of the first networks actually that the Telegraph had, and I am so proud of it. Obviously being someone with 2 chronic illnesses, because when I joined, I don't believe there was anything really at the Telegraph in terms of the community that you can speak with people who have similar conditions as you, or somebody who can understand what you're going through as someone with a chronic illness or a neurodiverse condition, for example. So so with ABLE, like, we really do recognize that. We recognize sort of individuals with those disabilities, and we aim to support them as much as we possibly can. So we do have a really safe space where people can come in and really talk about what they're going through, and then we use things like that to plan events, such as we've had deaf awareness training, we've had people come in to talk about their stories of their conditions and things like that, which is really impactful for the organization and gives people the confidence to express themselves and the conditions that they have. So just kind of moving forward on that, just some of the things that we've done as ABLE is we have like these quarterly workshops with our health and safety team to talk about workplace accessibility. As Pfizer mentioned, we developed the workplace passport, which was a huge milestone for ABLE. So this is where you can really express what your condition is and what software you need in order to kind of help you with your role. And then also it kind of helps you, like it was mentioned before, helps you to stop repeating yourself. When you've got a condition, the last thing you want to do is keep repeating what you've got to various managers if you are moving around the organization. So it's a great place to put everything in one platform. We've got various fact sheets to educate, inform, and improve the knowledge of conditions for managers. So sometimes managers won't really understand what you're going through. So there's a various worksheets that we've created on diabetes, on sort of both type 1, type 2, neurodiverse conditions, visual impairments, and things like that, so people can really understand what resources you need. We've also got the partnerships, obviously, with Evenbreak and Birkbeck University, where we provide work experience for graduates with disabilities. And then finally, something that I'm really proud of is the initiative we've launched on sort of disability stories. So we've had people within the organization sharing their stories with the rest of the company. So that's like on ADHD, on dyslexia, on diabetes, and so forth. So it's been a really great program, and we've got more and more people wanting to join that and share their stories. I'm going to stop there because just as part of that, we've obviously got India on the call today, who's going to just talk to you a little bit more about her personal story and a bit more about her career. So if you've got any further questions, though, please do put them in the chat, or I'm happy to answer them later.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarita. Very useful information about the Able Disability Network at Telegraph Media Group. So I'll come to India now. And if you could introduce yourself, your role, and why you're here today, please.
Thanks, Riley. I'm really excited to be here with everyone. So my name's India, and I am the Human Resources graduate here at the Telegraph, and I've been with the Telegraph since September. So not too long, but it's been very exciting. And I'm on a rotational scheme, so I'm doing lots of different areas of human resources. So I've done a bit of diversity and inclusion, a bit of learning with Sarita, so just learning lots of things really. And so I am got lots of curly hair. It's currently tied up in a ponytail today, but normally lots of curly hair. And I'm a white woman, and I've got blue eyes, and I'm currently wearing a black blazer, which I remembered I actually had on for my job interview. So I'm hoping it's my good luck blazer. So as Sarita mentioned, I'm just going to share a bit of information about me. So I am dyslexic, and I sort of got diagnosed when I was around 12 or 13. Just sort of my mum sort of could see that I was really struggling with English and whatnot, and spelling, and things just didn't make sense on a piece of paper. So she took me to get diagnosed sort of in junior school, and which helped to a point, and I got some more support at school. But I don't know if anyone else is dyslexic on the call, but it's going through school for me in particular was very difficult, and you don't always get the support that you need. And then particularly when I went to university, I did get more support, particularly from the disabled students allowance. That was really helpful, and I was fortunate enough with them to get a proofreader, which really helped with sort of writing academic work. But I think because I hadn't always had the support available, I was a bit nervous when I was going for jobs, and especially coming into a news organisation, where words are such a tool that we use every day. I was definitely a bit nervous about asking for extra time in tests. So when I came into the assessment centre, I didn't ask for any extra time, but I quickly realised that when I got here, everyone was so nice and so supportive. So I shared that in the assessment centre, which was really nice. And then sort of coming into the organisation, I felt really comfortable being able to ask for what I needed, and everyone was so lovely, really supportive. So I currently have access to Grammarly Premium, which if anyone is dyslexic, it's my sort of what is every day. I couldn't do without it. Otherwise my spelling would be all over the shop. But everyone's been really sort of supportive in that aspect. But I think also being such a supportive organisation, it's really sort of given me the opportunity to use it as a strength almost. So sort of, using my skills. So having been with the proofreader, I find like now I can proofread really well, and sort of have that. Sometimes I find I can piece lots of random pieces of information together and sort of put it all together, which has really come in handy. So I think it's really almost empowered me to use my skills in a different way and on projects, just having sort of a different way of looking at things. And it's also been really great sort of working with Sarita on sort of raising awareness about neurodiverse employees and sort of making sure everyone's supported. And I'm really sort of excited and feel lucky that I've been able to do that while I've been here, in the short time that I've been here, and just sort of helping everyone feel supported, and with managers as well. But yeah, if anyone has any questions at all, feel free to put them down below. But thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, India. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Yes, you were asking about if any other one, I think someone wrote in the chats they have epilepsy as well. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, he talks about that. And yeah, thank you for sharing your story. And I wanted to say thank you to everyone from Telegraph Media Group for coming today and, you know, talking about, you know, what a good place Telegraph Media Group is to work for anyone. But, you know, if you have a disability or anything, you know, anyone can work there and you'll be supported and everything. We do put all the Telegraph Media Group vacancies on the Evenbreak website. If Toby could help me to put the link for Telegraph Media Group's page in the chat, and you know, you can visit there to look up a bit about Telegraph Media Group on their profile page on Evenbreak, and also all their job vacancies are there where you can apply. If you see a job role you like, you can just read the job description, click on apply now, and then you'll go to the Telegraph Media Group career website to finish off your job application. Okay, so now that we've had a talk with Telegraph Media Group, I think we'll go to the Q&A box and see what questions we have there. If you haven't put your question in there yet, if you could please put it in there, because this is your opportunity to get answers directly from Telegraph Media Group. Anything from the recruitment process, you know, the ED&I policies, reasonable adjustments, workplace adjustments, you know, how you can bring your best self to an interview, the support you'd get from the ABLE network. Any questions you have like that, please put them in the Q&A box. I don't know if we've answered some of these already in the talk, but I'll mention them again. So it says, any tips on how best to design a CV to successfully pass an ATS system? It says here, if a CV has a column structure, would this not work best with the ATS system? That's an interesting one. I've never seen that before. Would Asha like to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. So I think, I mean, even with most ATSs, and it will be obviously dependent organization to organization, but for example, here at the Telegraph, we are still reviewing the CVs ourselves. So they are not going through some sort of automated selection process. What I would say is that the formatting of the CVs, it is better sometimes to keep it a little bit more simple, because the upload and the pull of that data can sometimes be a little bit skewed. If there are lots of different sections and lots of different boxes, that can sometimes impact how the CV displays when we see it on our end. You can usually upload a version of your CV as well. So we should usually have a document that we could look into as well if the actual display isn't coming through the way that it should. So columns in itself shouldn't have that much of an impact, but I would avoid using two.
Okay, thank you for that, Asha. Okay, and I'm going to go back to another question here. So India mentioned an assessment center. Please, could you say a bit about what that involves and the assessment center?
So thanks for the question. So for me, I had an assessment centre for the human resources graduate role, and that sort of included a couple of group exercises. One, we were stranded in the middle of the ocean, which was good fun. And because it was a human resources role, we had to look at CVs and a couple of case studies. But that obviously depends on the role you're applying to. But I'm going to pass over to Asha because she might have some more information for you there.
Yeah, so we don't run assessment centres every year, although for editorial they do, and they are slightly newer to the rest of the business in terms of HR, finance, sort of the corporate services. The applications tend to start sort of August, September time in terms of when we start to advertise, so that it allows us plenty of time, and of course candidates plenty of time to make their applications. Assessment centres will of course have deadlines, so please make sure that you are aware of that information if you are interested, and that's something that you're wanting to pursue. It's worth noting that due to the volume of applications, we aren't always able to come back with specific feedback. You should always, of course, be notified if you've not been successful, but unfortunately, we're not able to share specific feedback as to why. If you are successful, there will usually be, depending on the role and depending on the requirements of that particular business area, we may ask you to provide a short video tape of yourself answering certain questions, the information that we would like to know from you. And so that is part of the selection process. And then that's further reduced in terms of our final shortlist to attend on the assessment day. So we tend to have approximately 10 to 14 candidates invited in for the face-to-face assessment centre, again, depending on which business area is hiring.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Asha. I hope that makes that clear for everyone. Okay, here's another one. Does Telegraph Media Group offer completely remote positions, either generally or as a reasonable adjustment?
So generally the company do operate hybrid working as opposed to fully remote. So it's anything from 3 days to the full 5 days in the office. However, there is opportunity for you to request for flexible working, and then that is reviewed, of course, on a case-by-case basis by the line manager and HR. The HR business partners would be involved in that as well.
Okay.
And just following Ash's, what she's just said, just to let everyone know, I have got a flexible working sort of agreement, and this happened sort of after COVID, which was really helpful for me, because obviously didn't want to go on the tubes and the trains with the conditions that I had, but HR and the organisation are like they're very supportive in that. So I work from home 3 days a week, and I come into the office too for those for 2 days, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So you just have a conversation with your manager, with HR, let them know what your requirements are, and you just have that, just find a way that will work for you. And to be honest with you, it's been fantastic for me so far. So I just wanted to let you know that it is very supported here.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Sarita. I don't know if this next question is sort of similar to what we've just answered. If a job is posted as full-time and you feel would be a great fit for your skills, but you have disabilities that mean you can't do full-time hours, should you still apply?
Oh, Asha, do you want to take that one just from a recruitment perspective? In terms of disabilities, I think, you know, we're happy to have those conversations on a case-by-case basis. Like, there's no issues with that, but just in terms of the recruitment and how to apply, do you want to just take that question?
Maybe something like job sharing? I don't want to... influence your answer. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think ultimately what Suri has said, it is case by case. So if there is a role that you're interested in, but you have questions around the working pattern, it's always worth providing us that information in a cover letter, or perhaps reaching out to us to advise that you've applied. But would there be opportunity to discuss that role further on, say, a part-time basis, or perhaps a job share? It's not something that job share is not something that I've seen so much, but that's just because of the kind of roles that I recruit. But it would, yeah, it would need to be a discussion, and it would depend on what the responsibilities of that role are, as to whether they felt comfortable somebody taking a full-time role and performing that role in say 4 days of the week.
Okay, thank you for that. So yeah, unfortunately, we've come to the end of our session. Time has caught up with us. If there are any questions that's been unanswered, we could probably get them together and send an answer to you. So yeah, once again, I'd like to say thank you to Asha, Faiza, Sarita, and India for your time today. It's been very helpful. And for anyone who's attended, whether live or watching later, do apply to Telegraph Media Group. Their vacancies can be found on the Evenbreak website. And thank you also to our BSL interpreters and our closed captioner, and Toby in the background doing all the tech. And look out for our next career event on the Career Hive, our next Meet the Employer event. And have a good day, everyone. And thank you for coming. All the best. Bye-bye.